Shalom, all praise and honor, glory to Yahweh, Bashem Rashad, Bashem Kadash. That belongs to my apostles and elders of great millstone. Salutations to the 144,000 and 130 elect of the nation of Israel. I'm the brother Kabash from the GMS Atlanta camp. I'm here with the whole faith of found led through the spirit of Yahweh, Bashem Rashad, Bashem Kadash. And in this lesson, I'm going to get into the tribe of Zebulon. And the Hebrew for the tribe of Zebulon is Zebulon. And it is of the modern day Guatemalans to Panamanians, people of today, which are of the tribes of Israel. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump into Genesis chapter 49, verse 13. This is the book of, matter of fact, I'm going to start at Genesis chapter 30, verse 20. And it says, And Leah said, Yahweh hath endued me with a good diary. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons, and she called his name Zebulon. So this is why we say Zebulon means dwelling, or my dwelling. This is going back to the omen of the name of Zebulon. So now I'm about to go to Genesis 49, verse 13, and it reads, it says, Zebulun should dwell at the haven of the sea. Let's look at the word haven. Okay, the word haven is in the Hebrew kawapa, and it says seashores, coast, shore, haven, seaside. And you can see where Panama is located. It's like Central America, between Central America and South America. Then you got above it Mexico, and above Mexico is North America. Matter of fact, let me see. Panama. Let's see. Panama. Panama. Okay, you see the Caribbean Sea, the Pacific Sea. Then you got going up north towards the Atlantic. You got right here Costa Rica. This Pt.1 map is good. So right here, Gulf of Mexico, Pacific Ocean, Panama, and Caribbean Sea. Right near South America, Colombia, Costa Rica. So this canal zone is right here highlighted in orange. This is where Zebulon dwell. And the scriptures is accurate when it says he should dwell in the haven of the sea. Gulf of Panama. See, it's fruitful over there too, how they got these pictures. So right here in back in Genesis 49, verse 13. And starting from the top, Zebulon, which is Zebulon in the Hebrew, meaning dwelling. Going back to Genesis chapter 30, verse 20. And it says, shall dwell at the haven of the sea. And they did. When they came over here during the exile of the Assyrian Empire out of Samaria, out of Bethel, over there south to Sidon, Lebanon. The northern kingdom stayed over there in those areas. And they got put out of their land. They got put out of their land, and they moved to a land where never mankind dwelled. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get that. This is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 13, verse. I'm gonna start at 39, because it's coming to a closing of the previous saying of Yahweh Shah coming back in a big ship that is like a great mountain that was not made by hands, and he's going to destroy those nations in these last days that's fighting in this war, this World War III, over there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, over there in the Levant area, the Gulf of Persia, the Caspian Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, Mediterranean Sea. So like I kind of slip of the tongue. Mediterranean Sea. So like you slip of the tongue. West Asia. It's gonna be number war over there, all out war, and that's when Yahweh Shah is gonna come back and save the peaceable multitude, which is over here in the west, because it's gonna proceed after the silicone of that's in the verse 39. So right here, I'm gonna start at verse 39. It says, "Whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him," that's admit of him going to war with those other nations when he comes back. You can read about this account at the beginning of 2 Ezra chapter 13. Verse 40 says, "Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of," it says Hosea, but it's really Hoshea the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. Now this happened around 722 BCE, when those things took place, when King Hosea was on the scene. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can. Well, I don't think I gotta get a scripture on it. But yeah, in the time of Sargon II, that's when Israel got invaded, and that's when this event happened, when we was led by the Spirit of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, to go to a land where never mankind dwelled. That's what the word Azaroth means. It says right here, it says, you can read about the account in 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 6 as well. Talks about Israel going into captivity under the Assyrian Empire in 722 BCE. Right here in verse 41, it says, "But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, which are the Assyrians, and go forth into a further country, wherever mankind dwelled." So they went into a further country where never mankind dwelled. That's going into civilization was never set up in the land where they was going, and it was the Western Hemisphere over here in the Americas, North, Central, and South America. Right here it says that they might there keep their statues, keeping the high holy days and whatnot. Our people was experts in astronomy, especially Issachar, and I'm sure the other tribes too. They kept the high holy days until the newer generations came through and they fell away from it. And it was all spiritual that they fell away from it due to the prophecy of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It had to be a falling away first, meaning the tribes would forget their inheritance or their heritage, which is them being Israelites. As a whole, majority. Right here it says that they might there keep their statues which they never kept in their own land, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. Yeah, because Jake them, they were scattered throughout the northeast when the Assyrians came throughout Nineveh, Euphrates River, near Sidon. Jake them was scattered, the northern kingdom to be exact. And it says, verse 43, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. Yeah, and that's talking about the let's see, because it's four rivers that they talked about in Genesis chapter 2. But they sailed through, like it says in Scripture, those particular rivers. But you also had the, let me see, I think I just need to put a world map. Okay, so they, world map. So you see the continent of Africa, right? Then you got right here, it's highlighted Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Israel. So our people was coming from this way, east. And they didn't go through the Mediterranean Sea. It was more like the Persian Gulf, and then Gulf of Aden. And then they went all the way around near the Indian Ocean, and they went south of Cape Town, where the Lord held still the floods. Yes, it says in the AI overview, Yes, Cape Town is known for its incredible and diverse surf spots. Uh, the feature that feature very large and powerful waves. It's known for terrible, terrible ocean waves. I'm talking about surfing, man. What the fuck? Okay, I'm just putting something similar. Okay, Cape Town ocean water poses risks beyond typical beach hazards like strong currents and sharks, including concerns about sewage contamination, particularly at a beach. Okay, so they're known for rough waves. Um, Cape Town gets storms often. It says while South Africa coastal areas, particularly around Cape Town, do experience significant storms and are increasingly affected by extreme weather events, tropical cyclones are unlikely to form or reach the coast due to cold ocean temperatures around South Africa. So it's cold temperatures around South Africa too. It says frequent storms and extreme weather. Cape Town and the surrounding regions are prone to various weather hazards, including cut-off lows, strong winds, heavy rainfall, especially during winter months. And it says recent years have seen an increase in the frequency and intensity of these extreme weather events, partly attributed to climate change. It says right here increased traffic and risk. The rerouting. Okay, let me go right here. Origin of Cape of Storms. Historically, early European explorers named the area the Cape of Tormentosa, or Cape of Storms, due to the challenging conditions encountered at sea, even though these were not tropical cyclones. Increased traffic and risk. The rerouting of shipping traffic due to events elsewhere, like the Red Sea attacks, has led to increased exposure of vessels to harsher weather off the South African coast, resulting in more weather-related incidents. See, climate change leading to rising sea levels, increasing vulnerability. Okay, so that's the point on that. So as you can see, how the Lord emphasized that He kept the floods from hindering Israel on their travels. So they took that way to go to a land where never mankind dwelt. And also they know about the account of King Solomon and the king of Tyre, Hiram, when they sent their navies over to the land of Ophir, or the land of the land that never mankind dwelled. And kind of jumping the gun here, but the navy and sailors, men that was very good at seafaring, was groups of people from Zidon or Sidon with an S in Lebanon, you know, Tyre, those were the men that traveled over here in the Western Hemisphere lands, and also they left relics, they left um, evidence that they were here, and it's proof that Olmec, uh, the indigenous people of Olmec, they didn't make that stone. They knew which the day is of our people, um, Issachar and Zebulon. So they mainly congregated with each other in the lands of Mexico and Central Americas. Um, they knew that some relics wasn't theirs because it was made different. It goes to show you too that the tribes knew where they was going, and also it proves that uh, the borders of Zidon wasn't talking about uh, north of Israel near Lebanon, because Zebulon was damn near in the center of Israel, north of Israel. It wasn't, it was in between the coast and the west coast of Israel, and also the central part of Israel in the land. So that border of Zidon is not talking about when Zebulon was in the land of Israel. Just want to make that point clear. So right here it says, verse 44, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. Verse 45, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Asaroth. Yeah, the region is Asaroth just means another land. Let's see if I can type it into Hebrew. I think it just means Aratazah, another land. Okay, right here, Aratazah. In the Hebrew, the Assyrian Hebrew, Aratazah, meaning world. So it says right here, verse 45, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Assyria. Yeah, because it took them in the time of King Solomon, it took them 3 years to do everything. It took them a year and a half to go to the Western Hemisphere part of the world, and it took them a year and a half to come back. $1.50 plus $1.50 is what? $3. Dollar and a half and another dollar and a half. So back in the book of Genesis, and it reads, and he should be for an haven of ships, and his border should be unto Zidon, which I already touched on, but I'm gonna go into how we know that the people of Panama and Guatemalans are the people of the Lord. So right here, Panama Canal from the Wikipedia says the Panama Spanish Canal de Panama is an artificial 82-kilometer, 51-mile waterway in Panama that connects the Caribbean Sea with the Pacific Ocean It cuts across the narrowest point, as you can see right here in this photo, beside these paragraphs I'm reading, the Panama Canal, and they got it number 2, the Atlantic interest. Then they got the Pacific interest, and a lot of ships be exporting and importing goods through this passageway. This is a like another form of Silk Road, or those prosperous maritime ways that was very fluent in the ancient world. This Panama Canal is still fluent and prosperous, just like those other seaways that other empires built and molded when they was ruling, throughout the Mediterranean Sea. Then you got the Red Sea. So right here is no different. So right here it says it cuts across the narrowest point of the Isthmus of Panama. Now, what is the Isthmus of Panama? The Isthmus of Panama, historically known as the Isthmus of Darien, is the narrow strip of the land that lies between the Caribbean Sea and the ocean and the Pacific Ocean, linking North and South America. The country of Panama is located on the isthmus along with the Panama Canal. Like several isthmuses on Earth, as a relatively narrow land bridge between close seas, it is a location of great geopolitical and strategic importance. The isthmus is thought to have finally formed around 3 million years ago. There's no such time as 3 million years ago, but you could say roughly 12,000 and a half years ago. But really, it was during the time after the flood. That's when the isthmus was formed, because the world was as a Pangea at one time, meaning it was the world was all together, the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. It wasn't no half and half, wasn't no hemisphere, meaning half a sphere. No, it was all the land collectively together. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get Genesis chapter 10, verse 25, goes into Peleg. And it says right here, Genesis chapter 10, verse 25, and unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So how was it in his days the earth divided? Well, after the flood, the earth was divided. The earth flooded the whole earth at one time, and that's what caused the earth to be divided. Matter of fact, I'm going to go right here in verse 32. It says, these are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations and their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So it's no coincidence, man, that that history that Esau has as the isthmus is thought to have finally formed around 3 million years ago. It's a damn lie. It's a myth. Separating the Atlantic and ocean, it's like in the Pacific Oceans, and causing the creation of the Gulf Stream, as first suggested in 1910 by Henry Fairfield Osborn. It says Osborn based the proposal on the fossil record of mammals in Central America, a conclusion that would provide a foundation for Alfred Wegener when he proposed the theory of continental drift in 1912. History of the Isthmus of Panama has always been a place of global significance or importance. Its formation as a geological feature has several biological and climatic effects that resonated on a planetary scale. The separation of the oceans increased marine biodiversity on both sides, and the connection between the American continents allowed for the interchange of terrestrial life. Yeah, it sure did, man. It sure did. A lot of you know commerce services on the waters go through Panama. It says, as a matter of fact, before I read on, I'm gonna get this. Panama made it is. It wasn't mean us, but United States stands for the U.S. And it says, the Guardian, from the Guardian.com, it says how a U.S. president and J.P. Morgan made Panama and turned it into a tax haven. So instead of a haven of ships, it was a haven of riches too for these elite. Um, France first was trying to deal with making the canal possible in the 1800s, and then it failed by not only the people of Guatemala and Panamanians and other indigenous Jake, or so-called indigenous Jake that stayed around that way, Peru and whatnot, Ecuador, Belize, Belize. They all had Jake hands on deck when trying to build this canal when French was over the project at one point in time, and then it failed due to Jake dying off, and because it's an artificial wave, but them building that artificial wave took a toll on Jake, because they was the main ones under Esau's rule at that time. The United States being a superpower, and France being a part of that power. Our people was in captivity, and it was mainly damn near forced slave labor, even though slavery was abolished at that time and then building the canal. But around 1904, America took over, due to France handing it over because Jake was dying in a mass number due to mosquito bites that led to diseases, yellow fever, and the weather, and them building those canals, man. Bugs and animals attacking them. So our people went through hell building this canal in Panama. But Esau, he got riches, and that's the curses too. Our enemies should get above us very high, and we should come down very low. It says right here how a U.S. president and J.P. Morgan, and I think the president at this time was Roosevelt, that authorized the building of the canal. Right, it says in 1903, the U.S. bullied Colombia into giving up the province that became Panama. The plan was to create a nation to serve the interests of Wall Street. This goes back a long way. The Panamanian state was originally created to function on behalf of the rich and seek, it's like a self-seeking of this world, and rather their and it says Panama was created by the United States for purely selfish commercial reasons, right on that historical hinge between the imminent demise of Britain as the great global empire and the rise of the new American imperium. And this is all, prophecies too, about the three horns and, that fourth horn that came out and conquered the three horns of Daniel's chapter Daniel's chapter 7. So right here I'm gonna jump down. It says the writer Ken Silverstein put it with estimable simplicity in an article for Vice magazine 2 years ago. In 1903, the administration of Theodore Roosevelt created the country after bullying Colombia into handing over what was the province of Panama. Roosevelt acted at the behest of various banking groups, among them J.P. Morgan and Company, which was appointed as the country fiscal agent in charge of managing $10 million in aid that the U.S. had rushed down to the new nation. The reason, of course, was to gain access to and control of the canal across the Panamanian Isthmus that would open in 1914 to connect the world's two great oceans and the commerce that sailed them. The Panamanian elite had learned early that their future lay more lucrative in accumulating the far-off rich than in being part of South America. So, go back into the Panama Wikipedia. So there's a lot of history going into this safe haven of ships concerning Zebulon. But our people dwelt over in these lands first, but then, the curses, the prophecies and the curses had to come. Esau had to come, and he had to prevail against our people, like it says also in Daniel chapter 7, verse 21. It talks about the horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. The horn wasn't just any horn, is basically America. And America forced our people into this death slavery, this death labor. So French construction attempts in 1881 to 1899. Brothers can read about this. United States acquisitions. Brothers can read about this. President Theodore Roosevelt in 1901 to 1909. Driving force behind the U.S. construction of the Panama Canal. So our people suffered that, man. So right here in Genesis chapter 49, verse 13, the latter part of 13, it says, and his borders should be unto Zidon. It's not talking about over there in the land of Israel. let's look up this Zidon in this map. Physical map of Palestine. Okay, right here you got Israel. You got Judea, Heshbon, Sheba, Hezron, Jerusalem, Shechem, Nazareth, Galilee, Sea of Galilee. Then you go up right here near Mountain Lebanon is Sidon. South of Beirut, and west of Mount Hermon, but it's not talking about this border right here. Let's see. Now the borders of Zidon is talking about when the navy of Hiram, king of Tyre, at the time of King Solomon, along with King Solomon's navy, traveled the year and a half to the Western Hemisphere in the land where never mankind dwelled. They did not set up civilizations like Esau like to paint it. It was nobody living over here with civilizations over in Americas except for the 10 tribes of Israel. Because that was around the time of the Assyrian Empire. In the time where Israel was still Israel. So Sidon hunting, which I just showed in the other map, Sidon being north of the land of Israel, northwest of the land of Israel, near Mount Lebanon. So it's not talking about that particular border, Sidon. Sidon is talking about the border which the people of Sidon that came over here to the Americas to get good resources for King Solomon, and wood and gold, silver. They brought it all back to King Solomon when they made the travels. Matter of fact, this is the book of 1 Kings chapter 9 verse 26. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezon-Geber, which that's south of Israel, south of Judea, going into the land of Edom, which is beside Eloth on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. Let's look up the empire of King David. So this is where King Solomon having the ships were, by Eloth and Ezon-Geber, right near the Gulf of Araba. South of the land of Edom, because Edom was southeast of the land of Judah. And it says and it didn't take no 3 years for the Navy ships to go to Arabia or Saudi Arabia, like they say. Ophir is that particular place which King Solomon sent the Navy to go and get gold and stuff from. No, they was talking about Ophir over here in the Americas. It says verse 27, and Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold 420 talents and brought it to King Solomon. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 10. Okay, right here, verse 22. 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 22. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Tarshish, Tarshish, yellow jasper, son of Javin, which is son of Japhet. Another word for Japhon or Javin, Iona. In the area of Greece and Spain. It says a city of the Phoenicians in a distant part of the Mediterranean Sea, to which the prophet Jonah was trying to flee. Site unknown, but perhaps in Cyprus or Spain. A city somewhere near accessible to the Red Sea, which ships constructed at Ezion Geber on the Atlantic Gulf of the Red Sea, where to sail. So right here it says, for the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Hiram noble, the king of Tyre, who sent workmen and materials to Jerusalem to build both the palace for David and the temple for Solomon, the chief architect and engineer of Solomon's temple, sent by King Hiram to Solomon. So right here it says, once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And our people, the 10 tribes, they knew about this. And in 3 years, it's talking about the year and a half that it took them to go back and forth to the land of Ophir. And they call it that because it was literally, they got the gold Ophir. I got it pulled up right here. It says the word Ophir comes from Hebrew Ophir, or right in the Hebrew from left to right is Iwapayar, a biblical term referring to a region famously rich in gold. Its exact location remains unknown. It's not unknown. It's over here in the west. And right here in Wikipedia it says the name is usually Ophir is The name is usually connected with Phoenician afar dust, but a 1981 hypothesis has asserted that it stems from the Berber word "ifry", plural "ifry". Let's get into it. Okay, so basically, Ophir is a port or region mentioned in the Bible, famous for its wealth. So right here, I put the Aztecs and Mayans did not build Olmec statues in Guatemala. It says in the AI overview, it says you are correct. The Aztecs and Mayans did not build Olmec statues in Guatemala. The Olmec civilization is considered the mother culture of Mesoamerica or Central America, predated both the Maya and the Aztecs by a significant period, flourishing between roughly 1200 and 400 BCE, which it wasn't no civilization over here that was flourishing between 1200 and 400 BCE. Just Esau with his lies, man. If he tell one, you know he gonna tell a trillion. But during that time period of I think 962 BC is on down. That's when uh, them Hamites started to come over here. Tarshish and the navy of Hiram around King Solomon ruled when all the 12 tribes was together. It wasn't no it wasn't no civilization on this side of the world yet. That was the known world back then. The eastern hemisphere part of the world was where everything went down at. That's where civilizations was existing at in one point in time. Until the 10 tribes came over here and never mankind dwelled. That's when that happened. It didn't happen no other time. Around 400 BC, you had the Persian and Medes around. BC before Christ era, and then when Yahushua came on the scene, it was a new millennium. The year of our Lord, AD. That's why it's important to read the scriptures too and get the timelines, so you won't get tripped up with Esau throw these bones out here in these articles. It says, while Olmec cultural influence spread throughout Mesoamerica, reaching as far as Guatemala, the construction of colossal heads and other monumental Olmec art was centered in the Olmec heartland located along the Gulf Coast of Mexico. The Olmecs are renowned for their artistic, artistic and agricultural prowess, developing a complex society that made advancements in various aspects of culture, including the creation of monumental stone sculptures like the colossal heads, and the use of jade or jade in their work. It's like in their artwork. So right here, look, it says appearing around 1600 BCE, the Olmec were among the first Mesoamerican complex societies, and their culture influenced many later civilizations like the Mayans. The Olmec are known for the immense stone heads they carved from a volcano rock called basalt. Basalt. So it's a lot of info and articles you bros can go into and figure out. Um, but they go to show you that um, that Ham left their their relics, their colossal heads that don't even look like Jake. The Olmecs, they didn't have no. Well, the Olmecs was of no people. Matter of fact, let me see. Where did the term Olmec come from? The term Olmec originated from the Nahuatl language spoken by the later Aztecs, and it translates to rubber people. This name refers to the significant rubber production and the use of the rubber latex from trees. Here's another hint that um, they were Hamites because the Lord King Solomon sent them on a trip to get trees, and the rubber, uh, like it says, found from those trees. Um, they started to get um, innovative and start making relics of themselves and leaving it. Matter of fact, let me see if I can.